really starts to heat up. The best of the best players have been doing their thing. We have seen a big surprise in some of these games when it comes to who has been performing at the top level. We've seen some crazy pop-off moments from the likes of Albi and others who will continue to deliver.
Yeah, hopefully they got some gas in the tank because we know the battle bus does. Game number 4 is ready. And for a lot of these teams, the second half, you have to be able to, in some cases, keep up that consistency. And others, light that fire underneath your behind because now the going is really going to get tough. Everybody, depending on where you're at in the leaderboards, that is what is going to change the way you play. And for Snazy and Andalex, uncontested drop. From last week to this, they've already changed their game plan up, and it's been working out for them pretty well, making it to the end game. But just like some of these other teams, we've been talking about consistency is simply not enough. You have to be able to mix in. You have to be able to find those eliminations because the meta has changed. It's more aggressive than we've seen in quite a while. As X-Squeeze, Podesai moving up the leaderboards, especially after that last game, tries to put down some cheeky early shots, but does not work out for them. Takes a bit of damage, forced to back down, but X-Squeeze is there to try to back him up. JJ2 is going to go down. X-Squeeze looking to clean it up, unless Glubshy can save the day.
And Glubshy is definitely capable of doing that. There are so many players here at the Bastion. It certainly is rather brutal right now, at least. For Podesai and X-Squeeze, going to be looking to try and back-to-back. That would be ideal in their eyes.
Down goes Glubshy. Runs from one duo right into the hands of Grolls and Fire Hunter. And that's where you got to know if you're X-Squeeze and Podesai, seeing him go down, knowing that it didn't happen too far away. That they know, you know, he's gone, can't get that one. You got to continue on, continue looting up. No reason to get greedy here in this situation is Kylie and Vico. We've seen the troubles from games 2 and 3 begin to set in and really change their performance, change the way they've looked at this game, but off spawn now. It does look like they're going to have a fighting chance, scaring away Tilted and Helix, ending up in between TaySon and Merstach. That's not a spot I would want to be at all.
Not at all. Up above Voltiax in a situation he doesn't want to be in. Very unfortunate. Oh. They're actually picking up Mighty Pelican. Hold on a minute. Things have changed their hand here a bit. What should have been the end of Maze and Voltiax might just be new life in this game, new blood, but no, hard find. You know, when you've got a strong controller player in your box like that, there's rarely going to be a chance for you to actually come out alive. But you saw that there, yeah. I'll be rolling up, and we know what they can do.
It's like the little NPCs that, you know, they get the little exclamation point over the head. That was Albi. He spotted that one in the disc. They said, uh-oh, somebody's nearby. Quickly tries to beeline, take advantage of anybody that might be weak, as Flickseek is going to clean that one up along with Cheatin'. Get themselves early surge, early elimination. Spotting a build fight break out right in front of them. They're licking their lips right now. Even more surge theirs for the taking. See a down go throughout the sky. And this game, Levin, compared to last, is getting rather ramped up quickly.
Yeah, a lot of action taking place rather early here. I told you, man. Game 4, 5, 6, that's where things really start to get intense. You've seen already to start game 4. Just exactly how some of these players are looking to move now. For Albi and Ludwig, can they continue their reign of terror on the lobby? Can they continue to be the force they've been in these games? You'd love to see it for sure. There's always that possibility.
Almost in the double-digit ELMs per game. If they can keep up this pace, maybe tag on a few more on the tail end as Merstach and TaySon. Hearing that fight go down very early on. Closing in on the distance, trying to take advantage of any weak players in the distance. Merstach might feel like he knows Hardfind is down there. Solo separated from the rest of his team. TaySon trying to be hot on his heels as well. This is a 2v1. They want to close out rather quickly. But Hardfind going back into Kylie and Vico, sandwiched between two different duos. This is not a situation I would ever want to be in as Vico finds him slip and takes him out. But Merstach still closing in on the distance.
Merstach and TaySon, you know how scary they can be in this kind of situation. That's a tough prospect to handle.
Quickly just stealing that one away. Milad and Kyrie. It's actually just Kyrie versus Milad here. 1v1 situation, both of them losing their duos. finding the scraps of the Shockwave Hammer. And this is where he definitely has a perfect decision. 2 different Shockwave Hammers. He can get out, get the reboot, and then spread the love, spread the joy between him and his teammates. Shockwave Hammer each, but that's only if he even has the reboot. Because you see 2 more teams closing on the distance as a 3rd and 4th party. Angry they didn't get their invite, so they're going to crash it nonetheless. This is just one of those situations where with both of these solos just prolonged in this situation, trying to find the reboot, using each other as a distraction. Milad is going to do just that. It does look like he's going to be the one escaping with his life.
The ideal situation for him, right? Being able to get out there, especially with so many teams. This fight definitely has the potential to get rather messy. You could argue already is messy with just how many players are here.
Super Eye, F-Binds, one of those teams that didn't necessarily land towards Lonely Labs, but hearing those shots in the distance, they close the gap, trying to take what they can get. And one of those things that they're trying to take away from Lonely Labs that you see a lot of teams do, they start to scavenge a lot of that metal that they might not necessarily get in their landing spot, whether it's a POI or a landmark. Seti and Cammy. The only duo to place top 10 in every single game today. They're the true kings of consistency. And then sticking true to the game plan that they wrote out eons ago. Find the eliminations late in the game where those opportunities will naturally present themselves. Honestly, they just need to continue doing what they're doing, and they're going to be off to the races.
Thomas and Malabuka. I'm interested to see whether or not they start to pick up the pace in these last couple of games. I think a lot of people will be hoping they can start to get there. I think there's probably no doubt that this team will eventually make it to the FNCS Grand Finals. The question will just be, can they get to their form of earlier this season?
You can see just that activity towards Brutal Bastion is almost like it's non-stop. PotisAI squeeze. They got themselves that early game elimination. 2 other teams close by just trying to steal away the loot, prevent somebody else from getting that capture point. That's a lot of loot you're giving up to somebody else, and for PotisAI and X-Squeeze, it's just about taking height and really trying to put pressure down on the lobby. And you can see them being very, very weary about everybody else in the distance, which is a good attribute to have.
To see Queasy and Vino still looking good. Of course, here in Game 4, we have a bit of a switch up on our side, Jacob. We now have the wonderful Vivid here to fill us in on some of the things we've missed. Vivid, what you got for us?
Guys, Game 3, aggression has been the name of the game for a lot of these duos. Already 72 players alive in the lobby. Now, that makes it tough for any duo that isn't as aggressive. Now, of course, Cammy and Seti, one of those duos. Every single time that they get is going to mean so much more. And Augments, of course, like Bush Warrior, going to help with that. We'll have to see how some of these non-aggressive duos fare in Game number 3.
Thank you, Vivid. Really answering my questions that I've had in my head. Without getting any eliminations till late in the game, Seti and Cammy, how are you getting your surge? What is your game plan? Seeing it all break down in front of us, giving me the missing puzzle pieces to that story, showing why they are one of the best teams to grace Fortnite, no matter the region.
I agree. I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
I was waiting for you to say something because I was looking at you.
I agree.
I know you're a huge fan of Vino and Queasy. They have a good argument.
I'm a fan of great. I'm a fan of greatness.
Okay.
You're great. I like you.
I can agree with that. That's probably why I like you as well. You're just great.
Thank you.
Has nothing to do with the height. This is going to be a great opportunity for somebody to really rise up the ranks, get the surge they were looking for, get a ton of loot that they might have not gotten at their POI. Helix and Tilt Turn are going to be on the low ground. Mappy stuck by himself, and you can see Moran and Paco looking like they're trying to close in on the distance, knocking out the doors. But it looks like just everybody in this situation as the zone continues to pull north. It's a little center, but it still continues to pull north. The longer you take in a situation like this, whether you're fighting or not, makes it that much harder to get into the zone because you're going on the most congested side while everybody else has already beaten you there.
An update here in terms of how Marius and Frednex are doing. Of course, they've been a team that's definitely impressed today. maybe some would consider one of the more surprised teams in terms of their position in the standings. TaySon and Merstach, no real surprises today in their play. Again, I'd like to see them have their game, right? You typically expect some of these top dogs to come through and eventually roll it and win a game. TaySon and Merstach and the previous one, caught in the crossfire up above, weren't able to connect with their shots and were punished as a result of it. For Pink and Nebs, to see them doing as well as they're doing with some of the zones they've had to deal with today, I think is a big sign of the potential of this team. Haven't necessarily been the flashiest and most impressive, but they are here. They are fighting. If they do get the chance to show what they can do, I'd love to see them have one of the, their classic dominant height games maybe, or maybe something more humble down below in mid and low.
I like what Pink is doing, man. Just throwing some darts and landing them all around the map. Building that cushion when it comes to Storm Surge, making it less and less of a worry as the game does progress. As the Bull, Vexy have that same aspect of a cushion of 363 above the damage threshold. They're already almost going towards that center zone. Possibly just trying to build themselves a great spot to where when all these other teams begin to rotate in, when the next zone pulls and they end up possibly on the congested side, they don't have to worry about Surge. They can just focus on that rotation, beating other teams in the chase as Karmi and Vaniac end up in another fight. 75 below the damage threshold. The choice isn't necessarily theirs. They have to take what they can get in this situation as Astral is getting pushed back. This is not what you want to be on here, but they're on the defensive end. They can quickly peek, try to take down Karmi's shield along with Vaniac, especially if they're separated.
Oh, dear.
In comes a new challenger.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, almost. I'm sure that one surprised Karmi a bit of a jump scare. But it's by no means the end of this horror movie. Still plenty more acts to go. He needs to regroup with Vaniac, if there's any hope for them, and that's exactly what they'll do. Hellfire does pose a threat. I think now that they realize it is just the one player, now they just had to go on the offensive, not without some punishment, though, from the rest of the lobby.
Gotta be careful, though, because they were just fighting a team right below them. They could try to bounce back up and try to make them regret it as one goes down. Vaniac with just a sliver of HP. Hellfire!
Wow.
Along with Revsguard, really cementing themselves here in this game. That's a confidence booster if I've ever seen one myself. And you can take a look at the map. All of those other teams using that as a distraction to try to get into zone, but they're not going directly in towards the middle of zone. They're trying to gatekeep this team out, but they don't know how dangerous they can be.
Hellfire was sitting there all alone and made quick work. An absolute nightmare there for Karmi and Vaniac. And that will be the end of the horror story for them.
Wow.
All due to the good work of Hellfire. Very impressive stuff in a 2v1 right there.
Exactly what you want to do when they test you. You pass that test. You can see them leaving Achilles Plunder map behind. You got to think that buried treasure probably outside of zone, not worth their time for Flixie and cheating. But hey, if somebody else finds that and they're in shambles, one man's trash is another man's treasure, almost literally when it comes to Achilles Plunder. But 307 above, cheating and Flixie. They know that one team is right next to them. They're just getting themselves right at the edge of zone, so they don't have much to worry about. 288, Albi and Ludwig. One of the most dominant teams that we've seen on the day. First place, single game elimination record at 11 in game number 3. We've seen some records break yesterday, and they're looking to do it here again today as they get tagged up on the edge of zone, having to stabilize themselves in this position for now. But 261 above the damage threshold, there's at least that. They don't have to hunt for any of these shots.
Yeah, I've been mighty impressed with this team. A duo who by no means are considered the stars of the region, but very experienced players. Have had their fair share of successes in previous chapters, previous seasons. And maybe this will be the one where they really start to increase their rep and their respect within the region from some of the big dogs. Of course, Squeezy and Vino have an abundance of that respect. They obviously started the day very hot and have been an ever-present force throughout it. But right now, things are looking very, very tough as Squeezy takes a big chunk of damage. That's going to cause him some issues. It's going to leave a mark.
I like that. Take note about that right there. You saw Vino could have easily beeline. He could have got to the edge of zone. He could have got himself to safety, but he realized the strength in numbers. Queasy was just getting tagged up. He immediately backtracks to hold his teammates' walls. That's something that, you know, at the high level, it's common sense, but for anybody out there trying to take notes of little intricacies that our pro players do, that's something you definitely should down in your notebook. That's the numbers. XP's and Podosai showed that early on in the game, able to 2v1 that early elimination. Snazy and Andalex showing what you can do with an uncontested drop. 121 below the damage threshold, though. The only downfall, really, of an uncontested drop is Andalex gets sent back to the lobby, having to watch his teammate perform. And below the damage threshold, at least he can start giving out information, helping Snazy think outside of the box in terms of his typical game plan.
He needs to connect to something big here. Not quite doing that. 30 damage being all he takes, and so now just looking to take the game into his own hands, taking initiative, wants to break his way through. And he's up against a duo, but he does not care. That's not going to stop him. He just needs to deal damage and fast, and unfortunately, the only person taking damage will be him. One problem is, though, he's starting to cause a domino effect that Flodax and Rifty are going to have to suffer from. They have now a bunch of players who are closer to the zone, at least, holding them in their current position, pressuring them so that they have to stay here. They do have mats, and so they can hold on, but again, it is just inconvenient, and Rifty going to have to use some shields as a result of it.
Yeah, about five singular players trying to focus on, grab that elimination. Merstach and TaySon, they already have 2 of their own. Just on the edge of zone, kind of where we've seen them last, so not too much of a rotate to finally get in, especially since they have that shockwave hammer. For them, they're just trying to gatekeep, add on to their already having surge totals. Refsguard's going to be by himself after a heroic save by Hellfire to stay alive, 1v2 situation. He was one of those teams putting focus in the lobby onto Flodax and Rifty. And for him, shockwave hammer, he can kind of pick and choose when he rotates, but he has to be very, very careful, because if you rotate too soon, they're going to go ahead and target him right out of the sky.
Thomas Malabuka, how many times have we seen them looking like this? Thomas up above, looking at all the angles. Malabuka a bit further down below. Yeah, position going in the zone. I wonder whether or not they have that full cost augment. Maybe they start to pull that 5th zone. That would be very, very useful. Of course, knowledge of that 5th zone and where it is so valuable when forecasting and projecting how your end game is going to go.
And a little bit of change in pace we might see here towards this next end game. Instead of the massive differences in elevation changes, we just got an ice skating rink at the bottom. Not much to worry about. Some players can use that as a tool for their escape. Others might get a little frustrated if they don't expect it. As Queasy and Vino, you can see them kind of refarm while one's holding that height, gathering the information. 858 above for Shimoki and Swizzy. They got themselves a good spot, but it's a little crowded on this left side. Depending on where this next one goes, could cause some utter chaos and destruction for half of the lobby.
Shimoki and Swizzy, a team that competed in Asia in previous years, now here in EU, trying to make a big name for themselves on a bigger stage. They're not doing too bad of a job of that so far today. The zone pulling all the way though towards the northeast. They have a max distance to go. And so if there was ever a time to sort of show off what they can do, it would be now. Of course, a hammer will definitely help them. And maybe the ice will allow them to skid their way on into that zone once they get there. But you have to be very, very careful about how they proceed in the next couple of minutes. Refsguard all alone, even with all of Hellfire's heroics in the 2v1 earlier in this game. They are just left with the one player defend for their spot in the leaderboard, currently at 20th.
See him just trying to top himself off before this next rotation. Going to the backside of zone, using the med mist to get himself there. Seti and Cammy. We saw their game plan very, very early on when it came to Surge. Even though they don't have 0 eliminations, they don't have very much to worry about. Short padding to the front side of zone. Very little distance to cover. But this is exactly what I'm talking about, slipping and sliding all over if you don't expect it. The cones are going to be a must in a situation like this. Fire Hunter flying high through the sky, doing so as a solo. Doesn't look like Rolls is anywhere nearby. Asceti and Cam are just continuously not only gathering the information, but putting shots at anybody trying to box up close by so they know that it's not safe. You don't have that feeling of comfortability.
Rolls and Fire Hunter. They have a bone to pick with the lobby. They'll be very, very hopeful of their chances in this one. We saw Groves' game come to a tragic end last time round as he shockwaved himself right into another team's box and had no defense to answer with it. Now, though, they sit in a better spot. Still not as fruitful as maybe they would want to be when it comes to their resources. But the chance is there. Vino and Queasy, another game where they get to play it as a duo. We know what they can do in those kind of situations. One of the top dogs right now in this lobby. You can expect Queasy is cooking up something devious to get them in through to that first zone.
I'm almost playing like a trivia mini game in my head as Ludwig lost Albi. And if he's gonna make history, have a top 3 finish in 3 straight games, he's gonna have to do it as a solo. He doesn't have Surge to worry about, 354 above. He has to worry about just getting into zone, bypassing a lot of this chaos, instantly gets towards the front side. Huge amount for him, and I was thinking play a trivia game, when is Queasy and Vino gonna take height, but I think now's the time. 6 moving zone, that's their cue. Revscar is gonna have to follow suit. We talked about him being a solo, running out of resources, running out of builds. The inevitable is bound to happen. He has to look for a refresh.
Yeah, Revscar in dire straits right now. A big shot would be all he needs to sort of keep himself in this one. And the opportunities will be there. There's a play right in his box that he can't answer for. That's a bind. That's gonna take him out, Ludwig, in a very similar spot. But he does just need anything to keep him in this one. Of course, the hammer will allow him to survive a bit longer. But you can see who holds the keys to height. It's going to be Vino. It's going to be Queasy. Once again, we see them in this position. Last time we saw them here, they won a game, Jacob. They might be looking to do it again.
6 moving zone. For some, they think it's a gamble. For them, it's definitely calculated. Shimoki and Swizzy trying to get towards the front side yet again. Holding on to the front side, even if you don't have height, is going to be important. Beating all these teams there. Being able to look back. Thomas, Malibuca trying to follow suit. Gets coned for a second, but not too much to worry about. Immediately breaks through, but Thomas right now is separated from Malibuca. This could come tumbling down, just like Swizzy. All that chaos going around. Instantly trying to shockwave out. The longer you stay in those chaotic situations, the harder it's going to be to stay alive.
Yeah, they need to find some space to breathe. A breath of fresh air in this region so far this season. But they need a breath of fresh air in this game. Ludwig, even alone, still wreaking havoc on the lobby. And those extra materials will go a long way. They're going to work wonders. A chance to hammer up above. And you can see here, for Robot, no duo with him. But still, a big, big force to be reckoned with. And no, Vino, he's now being knocked into the storm and looking to knock himself back in to the zone. But he doesn't have Queasy with him anymore. And so all of a sudden, we need to see Queasy and Vino try their best in this one. It's all going to be in Vino's hands, though.
Just like Swizzy following suit, a lot of these teams losing their duo, left as a solo. And he quickly reacts to that one, shockwaving into a better position. TaySon and Merstach, they steal away high ground, thanks to the downfall of Queasy and Vino. But Vino's trying to stay alive. Consistency is key for a team like him, especially the way they started the day. But it's about maneuvering through, recycling a lot of the builds along with Ludwig. This is going to be a huge opportunity for him to hold on to that first place, even though Albi went down quite early.
Ludwig is no stranger to this moment. Has to hit something big. Looking, searching, waiting for his opportunity to strike. Is it going to come? Nebinator and Pink, though, they might stand in his way. And they will. Slove being the one to take Ludwig out. Neb and Pink, though, in the back of the zone. Need to try to get in. But when they do, they're going to have Vino waiting for them here. You see him lining up the shot. He's already picked up one, and he's looking for more.
Huge find out of that tactical assault rifle. Thunder shotgun as well. A great recipe for success for a solo trying to get through boxes here towards the end game. Thomas, they dare towards the low ground along with Malibuca, trying to break through the builds. A lot of chaos is ensuing. They're under pressure, getting denied entry to the zone, but the zero chance augment playing a huge role for him to dash his way in.
Thomas is unleashing on the lobby right now. He's already picked up 3, but now with so little, can he continue to hit more? He might be exposed to height. No, he'll just go down to the storm, hammers himself way on out of it. And Malibuca now left to his own devices. What can he do?
And in comes the challengers. As Neb and Pink are on the low ground, they're trying to end these solos runs. Down goes Delay. Neb and Pink trying to do what they can, holding that ultimate low ground, running out of builds. Down goes Pink as well. Malibuca's a solo, trying to make some magic happen. Shockwaving as high as he can go, dropping right back down low, knowing resources are not there to back up the situation. He's the only solo left in the game. 1v2, Malibuca versus Thomas. It's gonna be huge. Shockwaving, everything going around. TaySon goes up and over. They get the angle towards the front side, and they shoot him down from the sky. Malibuca tried everything that he had, but it wasn't enough to overcome the numbers of the superstars of EU.
TaySon and Merstach, I said it earlier in this game, that eventually they're going to roll up and pick up a victory royale. Little did I know it would be here in Game 4 that they do it. And a bit of sweet revenge there for TaySon and Merstach as they pick up Malibuca. Of course, when it comes to trio competitions, that's actually their teammate that they take down. But nevertheless, no friends in the industry, no friends in this game. They win it out. Victory royale, brilliantly done as well, up from above.
And the Titans have reclaimed the throne, the top spot. They said enough talk about these underdogs. We're here and we're here to stay. But where do they stand on the leaderboard after such a massive game?
Look at that.
Was that 10 eliminations to seal the deal with the victory royale?
Big shot there onto Malibuca.